Imagine it is a Tuesday morning. You wake up, you make coffee, you sit down at your laptop, and you decide to start a company. Not a side project, not a hobby, a real company with real customers, real revenue, real operations. Now imagine the traditional process. You would need to hire people, a developer to build the product, a designer to make it usable, contacts, marketer to find customers, a salesperson to close deals, an accountant to manage the money, a researcher to understand the market, a customer service team to handle questions, operation staff to keep everything running. That is how companies have always been built. People, departments, payroll, infrastructure. But what if you could open your laptop and access AI systems capable of performing many of those functions? Now, let me pause right there. I am not going to claim that this is already fully possible. We are not there yet. The technology has limitations. It makes mistakes. It requires supervision. It cannot replace human judgment, human relationships, or human accountability. But here is what I am going to claim. We are heading in that direction, and the direction of travel matters more than the current position. So let me ask the question that opens this entire investigation. What happens to the economics of business when the cost of running a company begins to fall? Not when it reaches zero, not when AI does everything, just when it begins to fall. Because that is what we are witnessing, a slow but steady decline in the cost of human labor that can be augmented, assisted, or replaced by artificial intelligence. And when the cost of something falls, the economics around it change. So let us examine what that means. Before we can understand what is changing, we must understand what is being changed. So, let us look at the traditional company, the way it has been constructed for more than a century. A founder has an idea. That idea requires execution. Execution requires people. And so the founder hires. But here is the thing about hiring. People are not interchangeable parts. They have skills, they have specialties, they have limitations. So a founder creates departments: engineering, design, marketing, sales, finance, operations, customer support. Each department has its own focus, its own goals, its own way of working. And here is where things get interesting. Departments need to coordinate with each other. The engineers need to understand what the marketers are promising. The marketers need to understand what the engineers are building. The sales team needs to understand the timeline. The finance team needs to understand the budget. This coordination is not free. It costs time. It costs energy. It causes friction. So companies create management layers. Managers whose job is to coordinate the work of others. Senior managers whose job is to coordinate the managers. Executives whose job is to coordinate the senior managers. Each layer adds cost. Each layer adds overhead. Each layer slows down communication and decision-making. But here is the important part. Companies did not become large because they were inefficient. They became large because there were economic advantages to doing so. Specialization allowed people to become experts at specific tasks. Instead of one person doing everything poorly, many people did specific things well. Coordination allowed those specialists to work together effectively. Properly managed, a team could accomplish more than the sum of its parts. Scale allowed companies to invest in infrastructure, research, and capabilities that small operations could not afford. These were real advantages, real benefits, real reasons why companies grew. But they came with a cost, the cost of people. the cost of departments, the cost of management, the cost of coordination, the cost of overhead. For a long time, this was simply how business worked. If you wanted to build something significant, you needed a significant organization. Then, software began to change things. We have already lived through one transformation in the cost of business operations. It was called the software revolution. And it did, in fact, reduce the cost of many business activities. Email replaced physical mail and internal memos. Communication that once required paper, stamps, and time could now happen in seconds. Spreadsheets transformed accounting and analysis. Tasks that required entire departments of bookkeepers could now be handled by a single person with a laptop. Cloud software reduced infrastructure costs. A small company could access the same computing power as a large corporation without building server rooms. E-commerce reduced barriers to reaching customers. A shop could sell globally without opening physical locations. These were real gains, real improvements, real reductions in cost. But notice something. In most cases, humans still had to perform the cognitive work. Software helped people do their jobs faster. It did not replace the thinking. It did not replace the judgment. It did not replace the decision-making. A spreadsheet made the accountant more efficient. It did not eliminate the accountant. Email made the manager more responsive. It did not eliminate the manager. Cloud software made the operations team more productive. It did not eliminate the operations team. The underlying structure remained the same. People made decisions. Software executed instructions. But that structure is now being challenged by something different. This brings us to the important distinction. Traditional software follows explicit instructions. You tell it exactly what to do, step by step. If this, then that. It does not guess. It does not infer. It does not create. It executes. Modern AI is fundamentally different. It can work with language, images, code, documents, and complex information in ways that traditional software could not. It can generate. It can summarize. It can analyze. It can classify. It can reason. It can research. Increasingly, it can take actions through tools. It can call APIs. It can update databases. It can send messages. It can initiate processes. And this is where the economics change. Because if AI can perform tasks that previously required human cognition, the cost structure of business shifts. But here is what I want you to notice. The important economic question is not, how impressive is AI? That is a technological question. It is interesting, but it is not the central economic question. The central economic question is, how much human labor can one person leverage through AI? Because that is the number that changes everything. If one person can leverage 1 month of labor through AI, nothing changes. If one person can leverage 1 year of labor through AI, something changes. If one person can leverage 10 years of labor through AI, everything changes. And we are moving in that direction. Not because AI is perfect, not because AI can do everything, but because the cost of doing things with AI is falling faster than the cost of doing things with humans. So let me introduce the central concept of this documentary, the one-person company. Imagine one entrepreneur sitting at a laptop. But this entrepreneur has access to a collection of AI systems. One AI handles research, scanning markets, and analyzing trends. Another AI assists with software development, writing code, and fixing bugs. Another AI analyzes customer behavior, segmenting users, and identifying patterns. Another AI produces marketing materials, generating copy and images. Another AI handles routine customer support, answering questions and resolving issues. Another AI monitors financial information, tracking revenue and expenses. Another AI coordinates workflows, managing tasks and deadlines. The founder becomes an orchestrator. Instead of managing people, the founder manages AI systems. Instead of coordinating departments, the founder coordinates capabilities. Instead of attending meetings, the founder directs processes. Now, I want to be clear about something. This is not magic. There are still limitations. AI makes mistakes, sometimes significant ones. It needs supervision. It requires validation. It cannot handle every situation. Some work still requires human relationships, trust, accountability, judgment. These are not things that AI can simply replace. Some infrastructure still needs to be built. Software needs to be integrated. Data needs to be managed. Systems need to be maintained. So the one-person company is not a fantasy of effortless automation, but it is a reality of changing leverage. One person can now do more than one person could do before, and that matters.
Let me introduce another concept, the productivity multiplier. When a person uses a calculator, they do not become a calculator. They become a person who can calculate faster. When a person uses a computer, they do not become a computer. They become a person who can process information faster. When a person uses AI, they do not become AI. They become a person who can access capabilities that previously required specialized teams. This is leverage, and leverage changes outcomes. Let me give you several concrete examples. A developer with AI can prototype faster. They can generate code, test ideas, and iterate in hours instead of weeks. Not perfect code, not final code, but functional prototypes that reveal what works. A consultant with AI can research faster. They can analyze documents, synthesize information, and identify patterns in days instead of months. Not final analysis, but directional insights that guide decisions. A marketer with AI can create more experiments. They can generate variations, test messages, and optimize campaigns in hours instead of days. Not final campaigns, but informed strategies that improve performance. A small business with AI can respond to customers at greater scale. They can handle support, answer questions, and resolve issues without hiring a team. Not perfect support, but responsive support that keeps customers engaged. An entrepreneur with AI can test ideas before spending heavily on employees. They can validate markets, refine products, and build momentum without payroll. Not guaranteed success, but lower-cost experimentation. These are not fantasies of complete automation. These are realities of increased leverage. And increased leverage changes the economics of starting and running a business.
Let me explain something fundamental about the cost structure of business. There are fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed costs do not change based on how much you produce. Rent, insurance, salaries for full-time employees. These are fixed. Variable costs change based on how much you produce. Materials, shipping, transaction fees. These vary with volume. Traditional businesses often need employees before they can deliver at scale. You cannot build software without developers. You cannot market without marketers. You cannot sell without salespeople. You cannot operate without operation staff. These are fixed costs. You pay them whether you have one customer or 1,000. And here is the challenge. If you need fixed costs to deliver anything, you need revenue before you can afford those costs. Or you need investment.
or you need to bootstrap. This is why so many startups fail. They cannot reach the scale required to cover their fixed costs. AI can potentially move some costs from human labor towards software, compute, and automation. Instead of hiring 5 developers, you might hire 2 developers and use AI for the rest. Instead of hiring 3 marketers, you might hire 1 marketer and use AI for the rest. Instead of hiring a full support team, you might use AI for Tier 1 support and hire humans for escalations. This does not mean AI is free. There are costs: compute costs, software costs, data costs, energy costs, infrastructure costs, human supervision costs. But the cost structure changes. Some fixed costs become variable. Some variable costs become lower. Some costs shift from human labor to machine compute. And when the cost structure changes, the economics of business change.
Now let me introduce another dimension: geography. What happens when a person in a small country can use the same AI capabilities as someone in a major technology center? AI can potentially reduce geographic barriers. A small team in a developing country can sell globally. They can access customers, process payments, and deliver value across borders. A programmer in a remote region can build for international customers. They can create software, websites, and applications for businesses anywhere. A consultant in a small market can serve clients remotely. They can provide expertise, analysis, and advice without physical presence. A small company in a rural area can automate operations. They can manage inventory, process orders, and handle customer support without local infrastructure. But I want to be careful here. Geography still matters. Distribution matters. Trust matters. Payments matter. Regulation matters. Networks matter. Local knowledge matters. You cannot replace the trust that comes from a handshake with AI. You cannot replace the relationships that come from local presence with software. But the playing field can become more accessible. A person with skills and AI access can compete in ways that were previously impossible. Not everywhere, not for everyone, not without challenges, but more accessible. And that changes the competitive landscape. So let me end this segment with the first big question. If one person can produce the output of a much larger organization, where does the economic value go? Does it go to the worker, the person who orchestrates the AI systems? Does it go to the entrepreneur, the founder who takes the risk? Does it go to the AI company, the provider of the underlying technology? Does it go to the infrastructure provider, the company that supplies compute and data? Does it go to the investors, the people who finance the venture? Does it go to the customers, the people who benefit from lower prices, or some combination of all of them? This is not a simple question, and the answer matters, because how value is distributed determines who benefits from this transformation. It determines whether AI concentrates wealth or distributes opportunity. It determines whether the one-person company liberates individuals or creates new dependencies. It determines whether the economics of business change in ways that help many people or benefit only a few. We will explore this question in segment 2. We will examine the economics of ownership. We will look at jobs and what they mean in a world of increasing leverage. We will consider who wins and who loses. But for now, sit with the question, because this is the deep economic question of our time. Not whether AI can do impressive things. We already know it can. But who benefits from the value it creates? And what happens to the traditional structure of business when the cost of running a company begins to fall? If one person can produce the output of a much larger organization, where does the economic value go? Let us follow the money.
The revenue generated by an AI-enabled company can flow in many directions. It can go to the entrepreneur, the person who took the risk. It can go to employees, the people who do the work. It can go to AI software providers, the companies selling the models. It can go to cloud infrastructure, the platforms hosting the compute. It can go to semiconductor companies, the chips powering the processing. It can go to energy providers, the electricity running the data centers. It can go to investors, the capital that financed the venture. It can go to suppliers, the partners providing complementary goods. It can go to governments through taxes and regulation. And it can go to customers through lower prices and better products. Here is the important point. Productivity does not automatically tell us who captures the value. You can have a more productive economy, that is one question. But who benefits from that productivity? That is a completely different question. And that distinction matters enormously. Let us return to the one-person company. Compare it with a traditional company employing hundreds of people. AI could reduce the minimum efficient scale for certain businesses. What does that mean? It means that in industries where information work dominates, a small company may now be able to compete with much larger organizations. A solo consultant with AI can research and analyze at the speed of a team. A small software company with AI can prototype and iterate like a larger firm. A boutique marketing agency with AI can test campaigns with the volume of a major player. But let me also explain the limits. Large companies still have real advantages. They have capital. They can invest in things that small companies cannot. They have brands, trust that has been built over years or decades. They have distribution, existing relationships with customers. They have regulatory expertise, navigating complex legal environments. They have physical infrastructure, warehouses, factories, logistics. They have data, years of proprietary information and customer insights. And they have organizational capabilities, the ability to coordinate thousands of people. AI does not automatically eliminate those advantages, but it does shift the balance. It makes some advantages less important, and that changes who can compete and how. Now, let me make an important distinction. The one-person company is not really one person. The future may not be a single human doing everything. It may be one person coordinating a network of specialized AI systems. Think of it this way. A human manager increasingly becomes an orchestrator of digital labor. You have AI agents that handle specific tasks, automated workflows that connect those agents, specialized models for each domain, research, marketing, development, support. But you still need human approval, human monitoring, human quality control. The human is not replaced. The human is amplified. And that is a different thing entirely. This brings us to the uncomfortable question. What happens to jobs? Let me be precise about this. I'm not going to use simplistic rhetoric. AI is not simply going to take all the jobs. But something significant is happening. Jobs are collections of tasks. AI can automate some tasks without eliminating the entire occupation. Consider software developers. They write code. They review code. They debug code. They plan architecture. They collaborate with teams. AI can assist with writing code and debugging. It can even suggest architecture. But the planning, the collaboration, and the judgment still require humans. Consider lawyers. They research, they draft, they review, they argue, they advise. AI can assist with research and drafting. It can summarize documents, But the advising, the arguing, and the judgment still require humans. Consider accountants. They record, they classify, they analyze, they advise, they audit. AI can assist with recording and classifying. It can flag anomalies. But the advising, the auditing, and the judgment still require humans. Consider designers. They create, they iterate, they review, they collaborate. AI can assist with generating variations and iterating quickly, but the creative direction and client judgment still require humans. Consider analysts. They collect, they clean, they analyze, they interpret, they recommend. AI can assist with collection, cleaning, and analysis, but the interpretation and recommendations still require humans. Consider marketers. They research, they create, they test, they optimize, they strategize. AI can assist with research, creation, testing, and optimization, but the strategy still requires humans. Consider customer service. They answer, they solve, they escalate, they build relationships. AI can handle routine questions. It can escalate complex issues, but the relationship building still requires humans. This is the distinction. Augmentation versus substitution. Some workers become more productive. They can do more in less time. Some tasks disappear. They no longer require human effort. Some roles change. They require different skills. Some new roles emerge. We do not yet know what they will look like. And some workers may face significant disruption. All of these things will happen. Not one of them. All of them.
This creates a new category of worker, the AI-leveraged worker. Someone who knows how to use AI effectively may produce dramatically more output than someone who does not. This is not a small difference. A developer using AI might ship code 10 times faster. Not always, but sometimes. A marketer using AI might test 50 campaigns instead of 5. A consultant using AI might analyze 100 documents instead of 10. This can create a productivity gap. The valuable skill increasingly becomes knowing what to ask, knowing what to verify, knowing how to structure workflows, knowing when humans must intervene, and knowing how to turn AI capabilities into business outcomes. These are not technical skills. They are human skills applied to technology. Now let us move from employment to ownership, because that is where the real question lies. If AI increases productivity, who owns the systems creating that productivity? This is the wealth question. Consider the layers. AI models themselves, created by companies and researchers. Chips, manufactured by semiconductor companies. Data centers, built and operated by cloud providers. Cloud platforms, services that deliver the computing power. Applications, software that uses the AI models. Businesses, the organizations that deploy these tools. Intellectual property, patents and proprietary systems. Customer relationships, trust built over time. And capital, the money that finances all of it. Why does ownership matter? A person who merely uses AI may benefit from productivity. They can do more. They can earn more. A person who owns an AI-enabled business may capture more economic value. They profit from the productivity of others. A person who owns infrastructure may capture value at another layer entirely. They profit from every transaction. Let me be clear, this is not investment advice. This is an observation about structure, because where you sit in the chain determines what you capture. So let me present two possible futures. Neither is guaranteed. Both contain elements of reality. Scenario 1. AI capabilities become widely accessible. Millions of individuals use AI to build companies, products, and services. Entrepreneurship expands dramatically. Productivity becomes broadly distributed. Anyone with skill, judgment, and ambition can access the same tools. Scenario 2. AI infrastructure and capital become highly concentrated. A small number of organizations control critical models, chips, compute, and distribution. Productivity rises, but economic gains become concentrated among a few. The tools are available, but the benefits flow upward. Reality could contain elements of both. The technology may be widely accessible, but the capital required to build at scale may concentrate. The models may be open, but the infrastructure may be controlled. The tools may be free, but the data may be proprietary. Which scenario unfolds depends on decisions we make today, not just by governments, but by individuals, by how we build, by how we invest, by how we organize. So what should an individual do? Let me suggest a practical framework. Move along a spectrum, from AI consumer to AI user, to AI leveraged professional, to AI builder, to AI-enabled business owner. Not everyone needs to build an AI company, but everyone should understand how AI changes the economics of their work. Identify the repetitive tasks in your field, the ones that could be automated. Identify the high-value expertise, the things only you can do. Identify processes that can be automated, the workflows that AI can accelerate. Identify problems customers will pay to solve, the gaps in the market, and identify areas where human judgment remains essential. The things that cannot be outsourced to machines. This is not about keeping up with technology. This is about understanding the economics of your own work. Now, let me return to the central thesis. The extraordinary possibility is not that AI turns one human into 100 humans literally. It is that AI gives one capable person access to a level of economic leverage that previously required a much larger organization. That changes who can start companies, who can compete, who can reach global customers, who can create products, and potentially who can accumulate wealth. The future of business may not belong exclusively to the companies with the largest workforces. It may increasingly belong to organizations that can combine human judgment, AI systems, capital, data, distribution, and trust. That is a different kind of organization, and it is being built right now. So let me return to you. The individual viewer. Will you simply consume the capabilities of AI? Will you work alongside them? Will you build with them? Or will you own something powered by them? The economics of business are changing. The cost of running a company is falling. The question is not whether you can build something. The question is whether you will, and what you will build, and who you will build it for, and who will benefit when you do. This is the economics of leverage. This is the economics of ownership. This is the future of work, and it begins with a single question. What will you do with the leverage? Before you go, if this documentary has made you think differently about the future of business, work, and wealth, there is more. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell so that you do not miss my newly uploaded videos. Because this is just the beginning. The economics of AI are changing faster than most people realize, and I will be documenting every shift.
But if you want to go deeper right now, download my ebook, The AI Money Machine. Learn more on how artificial intelligence will reshape wealth, work, business, and power. The link is in the description below, or scan the QR code showing on your screen right now. Do not wait. The future is arriving faster than you think, and it belongs to those who prepare.